everybody, my name is Molly McCarthy, and today we are going to be learning how to make a traditional Irish brown bread. For those of you that don't know, an Irish brown bread is a traditional bread that is served with stews and soups and just as a side dish, because with traditional Irish cuisine, it is really common to have a really hearty beef or lamb stew with carrots and Guinness and all sorts of fun stuff, so having a really hearty, sturdy bread is really important to complement the meal. And also, this is a really cheap option because during the Irish famine, people wanted to learn how to make things that were sustainable and actually nutritious for everybody. Okay, so let's get started here. First off, I would recommend that everybody get a baking scale because it's a lot easier to bake when you have stuff in grams versus cups or whatever. So I'm going to use a sifter, which is a very fine mesh strainer, to put the whole grain. It's about 275 grams of whole grain flour. You pour that into a bowl, and the sifter is really there to make sure that all of the ingredients and all the flour is just nice and fluffy. It gives it that really good bread texture, which everybody likes. So you just kind of shake it. Over that. While you're doing that, you can also put in your normal flour. It's about 175 grams or 6 ounces. It's not as much as the brown flour, but it works, and it kind of creates a good mixture of the two. So when you sieve it or you sift it, it just gets all these clumps out. And it just helps it be really nice and smooth because nobody wants clumps of anything in their bread. All right, so the next thing you want to put in is the 1 teaspoon of baking powder baking soda, because this is known as a quick bread. So the baking soda acts as a yeast, so you don't have to go out and buy active yeast because that is just takes a lot of time and effort. All right, you pour that in. Put that in. Okay, so the next instruction is you take about 2 tablespoons of just regular butter, and you just pour it in here. Oh, and I forgot to grab a spoon. So this is what we call cutting. So you just really lightly just kind of fold in the butter, and you want it to be room temperature butter because room temperature butter, it just bakes better and it's easier to stir in and it doesn't get quite as hard, and it's just a lot simpler. All right, we got that in. All right, so the next thing we have is 1.5 cups of just regular buttermilk. This kind of makes it, nice, and I hate the word moist, but moist, and it just makes sure the bread isn't dry. So you lightly pour that in. I kind of like pouring it in the middle. It makes it easier to get out. All right, and then to add a little sweetness, we add about a tablespoon of honey. So I put a little bit more just because I like my bread to have a little sweetness to it, but you don't want it to be overly sweet. All right, we got that in. So we're just going to stir this up really nice. And the last thing we're going to add here is our egg. So I also use room temperature eggs because in baking it just makes them lighter and fluffier, and it's just a lot smoother. Sometimes these eggs don't want to crack for me. There we go. All right. And so the key to this bread is really making sure all the ingredients are nice and stirred together. So you want it to be smooth, but it's also kind of a thicker bread dough. So it's you gotta work it a lot more than just like your regular just pizza crust or something like that. So if your hands are clean, you can just kind of go in, and I'm gonna stand up here because it's a little bit easier. You just want to mix it really well. Make sure you get all of the stuff at the bottom so it's all even. Just going to get rid of that. So with this, I'm going to make this into a really nice loaf pan here. See, it's about that size. And it's all grease so it won't stick. All right. So this dough, what's really nice about this dough versus a typical yeast dough is the fact that this, you don't have to wait for it to rise. You can just put it right in the oven. It's amazing. It's really nice and fresh, and you can make it in about 30 minutes. All right, so our dough is complete here. See, it's just a nice ball, and you can just put it right in the pan here. Kind of smooth it out because you want it to be a nice, even bake. All right, so there we go. And our next step is to put it in the oven. So after that, you put it in the oven at 400 for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your oven. So I hope you guys learned a lot, and try this at home. It's really fun and easy, and you get to get your hands dirty. It's awesome. All right, thanks.